Welcome to this video covering the games, or this is just one game in this video, of the 8th round of the candidates. The game we're going to look at is Kramnik against Andreikin, the duel of the two winners of yesterday. While Andreikin has won a fine game against Topalov, who basically self-destructed, Kramnik won an absolutely amazing game against Mamedyarov, where he probably was lost just 2 or 3 moves before the game ended in his favor. And immensely complicated game that really was key in the tournament, as now Kramnik is still in contention, and if he would have lost the game, he would basically be out of the competition. So let's see what's happening here. Certainly a game where Kramnik wants to push his white. He needs to win somewhere, and the white games, he needs to do something. Okay, what do we have? Slav defense. Andreikin is playing the Chebanenko. He had played an a6 line earlier this tournament, so something that could have been expected. And after g3, however, Andreikin took 20 minutes and then played b5. And this is completely out of this world, to be honest. When I was watching this, I couldn't believe what's happening. Simply because, I mean, he's black. He plays Kramnik. Kramnik is a d4 player. And if you look at the latest games that Kramnik has played against the Chebanenko, he played g3 in a very well-known game, for instance, against Luke McShane in the 2012 London Classics. He had played g3. So this is a move that you absolutely have to prepare against. And now Andreikin is taking 20 minutes on move 5 and then plays b5. That's really amazing. What did he prepare? It's a bit strange. Is he really doing this over the board and not preparing at all? I cannot believe that. Yeah, it's very strange. I guess Kramnik was also a bit puzzled what the opponent is doing. Okay, in itself, b5 is not a terrible move. The main continuation is actually to capture on c4. And then Kramnik had played a4 in this earlier game that I mentioned. e6, bishop g2, c5, and we get to a typical line that normally arises from 5a4. And this is a bit similar to the Catalan, and therefore certainly suits Kramnik's style. Black has other moves. b5 is just one of them, but it's a playable one. b5, b3, and now bishop f5 played by Andreikin. When I had a study of the Chebanenko Slav for a video series that I'm producing for ICC in German language, I actually recommended this move, which is also quite solid for black. You just continue with developing, and something like that is probably going to happen with a fairly solid position for black. Andreikin's move, however, bishop f5 is not bad at all, obviously, just developing. Bishop g2. And now he played an interesting move, which is very rare in this position. Played knight to e4. e6 is the somewhat self-suggesting obvious move, but well, he didn't want to go there. I'm not quite sure why exactly. Maybe he was he wasn't liking something like knight h4 to happen. Maybe not in this precise position, but maybe even in this precise position, where white will get the bishop pair, or you need to move again possibly. You don't want to allow the capture on f5. This is, I believe, in this special case, not too great. Yeah, he played knight e4 as and this, I mean, I understand that from a positional point of view, this can be good, but it takes lots of time. The idea is that white now takes. You can also cover that like this. This, for instance, had been played by Ivan Sokolov, the strong Bosnian Dutch grandmaster, and something like that happened. in a game against Grandmaster Simonian 2011. And this is quite similar to the game. The difference is that the bishop now is on c3, and in the game it went to another place. We will see that soon. Kramnik took and castled. And maybe this is more interesting in comparison. An idea could be that if black now plays the normal looking move e6, that white can actually play knight e5 here. And this seems to be somewhat more comfortable for white. Look at this. Yeah, black cannot play this because it's hanging. And after bishop d6, which looks perfectly normal, white has the interesting continuation e4, intending a quick queen g4. And you notice that white really has the better development here. Black is in slight trouble here. He probably didn't want the knight to come to e5, so this is why Andreikin played knight d7. Yeah, the whole position here is a bit, it's also a matter of tempi in a way. If it would be black's move here, or white would play now a somewhat less to the point move, let's say he plays bishop b2 for example, then after e6, black is in perfectly fine shape. He has established this bishop on e4, which is very useful simply because it hinders white's expansion in the center. If yeah, how is white going to make any progress here? You can of course move the knight, yeah, but something like that. I'm glad to exchange pieces and be perfectly fine. And the other idea is that white can play here and then knight e2. Then you will capture the right moment and just say, okay, I've got a perfectly sound pawn structure. All pawns here are on light squares. I have a dark squared bishop to go with that, and white's bishop on b2 is not so great. This is the idea, to put the bishop on e4. And yeah, what's the specific of this position? It's this move, and this is very strong that Kramnik has this available. Now the move e6 simply loses so much time that you cannot afford that. Let's say, and now knight e5 or the capture. Yeah, and here white is simply quicker on the c file. e6 is not a good move. He played g6 to avoid that, but have a look. It takes, and queen d2. Yeah, very good post for the queen. It controls crucial squares. It might switch over to the king side at the right moment, and it of course prepares action on the c file. All this is perfectly logical. And now bishop h3. Yeah, it's very hard to make any sort of progress without this move, and I guess it's correct play by Kramnik to play that. Yeah, Andreikin took this. This is basically forced. If black is not taking, white will retreat, or let's say remove the bishop to some other square. Even e1 is a move to consider, and maybe use it on the queen side. You must get rid of this, especially considering that the c file is open. You really want knights to disappear from the board, so that a knight is not appearing on any of those weak squares. So very understandable. And now rook e8. Yeah, okay, you like to play e6, but this again was not possible due to the a3 bishop. So rook e8. Yeah, how to assess this position? It looks really comfortable for white. It really does. The next couple of moves look completely logical to me, and I have a hard time to suggest any improvements. Rook c6, and now e6 is played. Maybe here in this position you could try to improve white's play. Maybe I'm not sure really, but this is a possible opportunity. Black is intending this move, attacking on d4, and not to f2 but on f3. It's a double attack on those two pawn weaknesses, and maybe white has some alternative that actually does not sacrifice a pawn. Kramnik sacrificed the pawn basically, and I think it was okay. It's not like it was a mistake what he did, but maybe there is some way to get the position that he actually got without giving away a pawn. But I'm not sure how this might be possible. You can play a relatively passive move like bishop b2 at some point, and just say, okay, I've got the c file anyway. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, this renders queen f6 a bit pointless, as white will cover this pawn. Maybe even with this move, covering both and controlling the c file. Yeah, maybe this is an idea. I don't know. I mean, what he did is perfectly logical to me. The pawn on f3 cannot be so important. He played this, and Andreikin played queen f6. This is also what he must do. Other than that, black does not have any play. You should really get this pawn and defend your position, not being on equal material, but like here with an extra pawn. So this is perfectly okay. Queen f6 played, and Kramnik of course took the 7th rank. Yeah, and this knight retreated to f8. It's very understandable. Rook d8 was also possible, but it looks a bit weird to possibly expose your queen side like that. Knight f8 is a normal move in my book. Yeah, and now he played bishop c5. Yeah, what can you do? Well, d4 is a bit early to give away, so he covered this important pawn. Yeah, and now black really should take and did take on f3. Yeah, is there something else? Yeah, black can try something like that. But what are you doing now? Queen is attacked and the rook is attacked, so it loses material. This is just the best move. Take the pawn. Yeah, and rook c3 looks perfectly normal. The queen went to h5. Yeah, okay, you could look at this move, but it sort of looks like it runs into a later rook f3, so it's probably not particularly great. Queen h5 is also gaining this tempo on the bishop, and it almost, yeah, I'm not sure it forces white's reply, but it invites white's reply, and Kramnik played it. He played g4, gaining this tempo on the queen. Queen h4, no choice, and queen f4. This all this looks completely logical to me. If you could easily imagine myself playing those moves. Don't have any apparent improvements or objections or whatever. And around here, it is interesting to check what kind of possibilities both sides have. Andreikin here played the move f6. Yeah, I mean, okay. You need to do something about the mate threat. Yeah, what else was there? He had alternatives to consider. This, oops, you can dismiss really quickly. Well, white will crash through an f7, so not playable at all. But there was f5. This move was an alternative, and to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what white should do against it. It's I think this position is one of those where white will have a compensation no matter what, for one pawn at least. But it's not so clear to determine what is actually the best move here. I had a look at rook b7, intending queen c7. It's a very direct approach. After that, black can try the sharp move e5. An interesting try. Yeah, the idea is that after the capture there is knight e6 or even bishop e5. Both seems to be good. However, after after f5, rook b7, e5, white has the move queen f3, which is surprisingly strong. It attacks on d5. And what is black's move now? If you go e4, I'll just go here. And it turns out that
Check.
this type of position black is forced to take, and with the bishop activated, white will have a very good compensation for the pawn. It's nothing to fear here at all for white. If he goes knight e6 here, sort of trying to solve things tactically, white can take and take here. And it turns out that the rook is helping in defense on the third rank. This seems to be okay for white. It's very complicated, obviously, with alternatives for both sides, but rook b7 seems like playable to me. There's also queen g3 here, which is maybe the most conservative move. It's leading to, I guess, a decent game for white. What is black's move now? If you go back here, you even have to consider g5. This looks a bit ugly. So the capture is probably the way to go. Yeah, and here white always has this idea of capturing on the right moment on f8 and getting e6 back, like this and this. And this is very likely going to end in a draw, because white has really enough activity to get the draw, but not much more than that. f5, an interesting move. He played f6, which is also quite okay. I mean, there's nothing that nothing great that white can do here. He played bishop e7, Kramnik did, and yeah, you can try other moves. Queen d6, for example, you can try to enter with the queen, but where actually do you go? It's not like you have access to those squares. Black can even play e5 and just claim that the queen is doing nothing here. Yeah, okay, you can go here, but it didn't really reap you any big benefits. I think bishop e7 is perfectly okay, to be honest. It also sets a little trap, not a difficult trap, but yeah, if black now plays g5, white is instantly winning with bishop f6. This is quite neat.
Check. Checkmate.
An immediate mate, very nice. Yeah, g5 is an insane move. What else? Yeah, h5 is a move that needs to be looked at. But it's not clear to me if it is really threatening so much. White can even consider to just play a nothing move and ask black, what are you doing? There's a fun drawing line with e5, takes, knight e6 and queen f3. This position here actually is very tough for black to play, as white is threatening to just win outright. And it seems that he probably needs to do that to secure at least the draw here.
Check. Check. Check.
This seems to be the best line, and it's a perpetual check. I just think that in this whole position there is a fine balance between the positional compensation that white has and the material. It's just about equal, I believe. However, h5 was maybe the better move compared to what Andreikin did. He played queen to g5, and Kramnik went to g3. Yeah, he also could have considered to take, but the question is if this is really helping white much, especially considering that after bishop takes g5, this is a bit misplaced here. However, after the capture, something like that, it's just a pawn, and probably it's still enough compensation. Compared to the game, however, queen g3 is just the better move, and this is because of a very specific threat. If black now is playing a nothing move, I'm going to play f4, and well, it's going to be very embarrassing for the queen. No. Not a side you want to have as black. Yeah, you only have one move after queen g3. This is queen d2. And I believe here is the point where the game is really coming to a point where a draw is almost unavoidable. And this is after Kramnik has played the move g5 here. It seems that the move queen e3 was a lot better. And after that, maybe white can even try to press in this position. It's quite remarkable. Black must take. There is no other square really. Takes. And now, for example, f5. Yeah, I don't really see how black can avoid this move. Want to activate your f8 bishop. Yeah, and here maybe white can just continue with king f2 and yeah, improve slightly. The problem here from black's point of view is you don't really have any constructive things to do. White has this compensation, and yeah, what exactly is black's move here? What are black's moves here? White can try to improve slightly, like doubling on the 7th, things like that. You can try, and it's not so apparent what black is going to do here. This is certainly a very good compensation for the pawn. The computer is actually giving white an advantage of almost half a pawn. Sounds quite a lot to me, but yeah, what exactly is black playing here? Very difficult, and there are some things that that might happen to black in very short order if he's not is not cautious. Let's say, for example, something like that.
Check.
Oops.
Check.
And white is winning immediately. Of course, this was very cooperative, but not untypical of this position where white is so active. It seems that here black has some problems to solve. I wouldn't very much like to play that as black. Yeah, Kramnik played g5, the more direct continuation. And after queen takes, we also get a position where white certainly has compensation, but it's simply 2 pawns now. Black has gotten the d4 pawn, and white is not in so much control as in the position that I showed before. There he really had a center, d4 and d3, and this is gone now. Yeah, so what about this? Is this a bad position for Kramnik? I don't think so. It's still so active, and white always has this idea to play bishop h6 or to e7, and then take on f8 at the right moment and then regain on e6 the pawn. Black has absolutely no way to unwind from this idea. They continued, of course, a bit. King g2 is still important. If white would take now,
check,
he has this problem on f2. So he plays king g2 first, and black simply has no way to improve his position. He played a4. Yeah, and now after the capture, I'm sorry. And now here they agreed to a draw. As we now, after bishop e6, king here, and rook c8, will come to a completely dead position where white is protecting on a2, and there's simply nothing going on. Yeah, a draw in this game. It doesn't change the standings very much. Kramnik certainly would have liked to get something, get a win, but Andreikin played a very good defense, I believe. He really didn't allow much. Queen e3 was maybe an idea to continue the game in this position where he went g5, here queen e3. But other than that, I think a very correct and deserved draw for both players. Yeah, this means that Kramnik stays on +1 and is within striking distance of the tournament lead, and Andreikin stays on -1. not brilliant, but okay. Yeah, there. It was not that he was a big favorite to win the event, so -1 is not really bad for him. All right. I hope you enjoyed the coverage of this game. Thanks for watching.